Okay, so you know how we're always posting stuff online? Pictures, comments, you name it. But have you ever stopped to think about where all that stuff goes?
Right. Like it's out there in the digital world.
Exactly. And it turns out that for some people, it's not just fading away. There's this report, and it shines a light on something pretty unsettling: government surveillance of social media.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. The Intercept, they published this report, and it basically says that ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they're keeping tabs on what people are doing on social media.
Seriously.
It's raising a ton of questions about privacy and free speech, and that's exactly what we're going to dig into today.
Absolutely. Our goal is to figure out what this Intercept report actually says,
All right.
like what are the reasons they're giving for this kind of monitoring? And we want to help you understand what this could all mean, the implications of it all.
Makes sense.
So the main source we're looking at today is actually the Intercept's reporting as it was talked about in this recent YouTube video from the Ring of Fire. It's a good breakdown.
Okay, so let's get down to it. What was the initial reason they gave for all this surveillance?
Well, according to the video, the first reason they gave was to find people who are making direct threats.
Threats?
Yeah, against ICE agents, their facilities, or any government officials, really. And the interesting thing is, the person in the video actually says that on the surface, that seems kind of justifiable.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's making a direct threat.
Right. And they even brought up this really intense comparison. They talked about how cartels in Mexico, they use social media to go after people who criticize them,
Oh, why?
even for stuff that seems like, small criticisms. And then they talked about the consequences. Beheadings, bodies put on display. It's a pretty stark reminder of the real dangers that government agencies and the people who work there can face.
It definitely makes it feel less theoretical.
It does. And the person in the video even said, I hope people like Haman, those high-profile figures, I hope they have good security, which kind of emphasizes just how real these threats can be.
So, yeah, starting with focusing on actual threats
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. It's a starting point.
Okay, so that's where it starts. But the Intercept's report, at least how they talk about it in this video, it doesn't just stop at those really clear threats, does it? It seems like they're going way beyond that initial reason.
You're right. The report, it claims that these contracts IZE has with other companies, they actually go a lot further. They're supposedly using all this advanced tech, like machine learning and AI, to find people who have said what they call, quote unquote, negative sentiments
Yeah.
about ICE.
Negative sentiments.
Yeah, that's what they call it. And that's where things start to feel different,
Like way bigger. Right.
way bigger. And, the video gives this example. It says that someone could just tweet something like, man, ICE sucks.
Seriously.
And that could set off their AI. That's a huge jump from, like, someone saying they're going to hurt someone.
It makes you wonder what they're even looking for with these systems.
And here's the thing that might freak you out a little. The kind of stuff they're gathering on people who say these, quote, negative sentiments.
Okay, what kind of stuff?
So according to the video, based on the Intercept's report, it includes things like social security numbers, home addresses, even a list of everyone in your family.
Whoa.
And pictures, too, for facial recognition. They even supposedly take photos of the front of your house and your property. It feels like they're going really deep into people's lives just because they said they don't like ICE.
Yeah, that's a lot of information to get just because someone said something negative online about a government agency. It's a big shift from focusing on stuff that most people would agree isn't protected speech, like direct threats, to monitoring stuff that's generally seen as protected by the Constitution.
Exactly, like being able to say what you think, even if it's not flattering to the government.
Right. And the video, it really focuses on this point. It's worried that just having a bad opinion about an agency could mean you get put on some kind of list, profiled, and then they have all this information about you.
It makes you think twice about what you say online.
It does. But the video does say that this kind of social media monitoring, it might not be totally new for government agencies. It's not like this is happening out of nowhere.
That's true. The video mentions the Secret Service. They've been doing this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And they even suggest that platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they might be doing some kind of monitoring too.
Really?
It makes you think, right? So basically what they're saying is that the Intercept maybe overdid it a little by saying that what ICE is doing is something brand new It might be more common than we think.
Okay, so it might not be a completely new thing, but the fact that they're going after negative sentiment and not just straight up threats, that seems to be a big problem. And it leads to this whole slippery slope argument, right?
Right.
So let's talk about that slippery slope. Like, where could this kind of expanded monitoring go?
So the main worry with this whole slippery slope idea is that even though the original goal, like going after real threats, seems okay, the fact that they're looking at negative opinions now opens the door to a whole bunch of problems.
Like what?
Well, first, it could really easily catch people who aren't doing anything wrong.
Right. Just because you said something mean.
Exactly. And then it makes you wonder if government agencies are going to start building files on people, dossier, based on opinions they have that aren't even illegal, just so they can watch them in case they do something wrong in the future. The video calls it Big Brother type stuff, which is like a classic image of scary surveillance.
That Big Brother thing is a pretty powerful image.
It is. And then they made this comparison to the time before weed was legal. They're saying maybe government agencies were keeping tabs on people just because they were known to smoke, even if they weren't breaking the law at that moment.
So basically they're saying that now it's about what you might do, not what you're actually doing.
Right. It's like they're saying, we're going to watch you just in case.
It's creepy. It makes you think about how easy it is to cross that line.
It does. And, the video has some thoughts on the Intercept's reporting, too. They have some criticisms.
Oh, yeah. What are they saying?
Well, they don't hold back. They call the Intercept's report an overreaction. They even say it's a pitiable overreaction, which is pretty harsh.
That is pretty harsh. So what's the reasoning there? Why are they so critical?
Well, they're basically saying that the Intercept didn't really do a good job of separating the legitimate stuff, like looking for actual threats of violence, from this broader thing of tracking negative opinions. The video suggests that the article made it seem like what ICE is doing is way more groundbreaking than it actually is, because other agencies are doing similar stuff already.
I see.
They're saying that the report might be making ICE's actions sound more unique than they really are.
Okay, and what about that red meat story thing? I think they said that.
Yeah, so the person in the video even says that the Intercept might have made this story seem more sensational to get more attention. Like they had a reason for presenting it the way they did.
Interesting. So even though they're pretty critical of the way the Intercept reported this, the video does agree on one really important thing. And I think this is important for everyone to remember.
What's that?
They agreed that this whole situation could get out of hand if this kind of monitoring, especially the stuff about negative opinions, isn't controlled. Like there needs to be oversight of all the agencies involved.
That's a good point. So even though they don't agree on how it was reported, they both see that this could be a problem if it goes too far.
Exactly. So let's bring this all together for you. What are the key takeaways here? We've looked at this balance that needs to exist between protecting government people from real threats and the potential for things to go too far when they start monitoring stuff that's protected by the Constitution. Like, can you say bad things about the government or will they come after you?
That's the question, isn't it? We've seen a few different sides to this. On the one hand, looking for credible threats, that makes sense. But when they start tracking negative opinions, it raises a lot of questions for you about your right to free speech and privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And, the video we talked about, it has a more balanced view. It says that this kind of monitoring might not be completely new, but we still need to think carefully about it so it doesn't turn into something much bigger.
Right, that slippery slope. So this brings up a really big question for you to think about. Considering the reasons they've given for why the government is looking at social media, where do you think we should draw the line? At what point does security become more important than your right to say what you think about the government, even if it's negative?
Yeah, like where is that line?
And what happens to our freedoms and our privacy if this continues? What happens if it gets even bigger?
It's definitely something worth thinking about.
It is. And we really encourage you to check out the Intercept's report for yourself, read the whole thing, and take a look at the commentary from the Ring of Fire, too. By looking at all these different viewpoints, you can really make up your own mind about this whole thing.
It's a complex issue, and it's constantly changing, so it's important to stay informed.
Exactly. So keep those minds working, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See you then.